The Queen's Jewish Link presents the Jewish Living Podcast, the show that examines the many facets of Orthodox Jewish life. Here's your host, Izzo Zwirin.
This has been a traumatic time for many of us. Israeli citizens faced thousands of rocket attacks for 2 weeks. Palestinians in Gaza, still under the rule of a terrorist organization, have seen their homes destroyed and loved ones killed. And as a result of all this, Jews the world over have seen a large uptick in anti-Semitic violence. And here in New York is no exception. That's why we invited on this week's guest.
Hi, I'm Joseph Borgen. I'm 29 years old, and I'm a Jew who grew up in Long Island. I've lived in New York City for the past decade.
Joseph and I will discuss just what happened this past Thursday night in Midtown Manhattan and what the fallout has been since. So, Joseph, thank you so much for joining me. I know you have it's a little bit of a traumatic time for you, and I appreciate you taking time to join me in this.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I'm now that I'm okay, recovering. At least I can do is try to bring some positivity out of the situation.
So, a lot of people have been kind of following this story, watching your interviews on cable news or even local CBS News. I saw had you on, but let's learn a little bit about you. What do you do for a living? Where are you from? Where do you live now?
Yeah, so I grew up in Long Island since I was 2-3 years old until I went to elementary school. I went to Halba Elementary School in Long Beach. I went to after high school, right here in Cedarhurst, New York. Grew up in Lawrence, and I went to Israel for the year. I went to Rashit for the year. One of the best years of my life. I loved Israel's great experience. Came back from Israel, went to Baruch College, and I've lived in and around the city, different parts since about 2011.
All right, so we're having you on here to discuss an incident that happened. We're recording this on Tuesday the 24th, on Monday the 24th, sorry. And this incident happened last week on Thursday.
Correct.
Can you, first of all, walk us through what happened?
Yeah, I was planning on attending a rally as I had done the prior Tuesday or Wednesday in the same location, 47th and 7th. Rally was called for 5:30. I had finished work approximately 6 p.m., hopped on the queue line of the subway and got off at 57th and 7th like I did the week prior. Was in the process of texting my friends, finding out where they were exactly, meeting up with them. A couple blocks away by 48th and Broadway, when I turned around, and before I could even react, I see someone chasing me, with an arm cocked back, looking to, punch me in the face. Before I could even react, I was surrounded by a crowd of people who, proceeded to kick me, punch me, hit me with crutches, hit me with flagpoles, and then towards the end, pepper spray and mace me, which was the icing on the top, honestly.
Wow. So to be clear, no provocation. There was nothing.
No, I was just wearing my yarmulke, walking down the street, and that was the only thing. I wasn't wearing an Israeli flag. I wasn't wearing an Israeli shirt or any kind of Israeli representation besides the fact that I was a Jew wearing a kippah.
And there was no way to avoid it. They came on you pretty quick, right?
I have it's like glimpses in my head, in patches. But I just remember turning around and seeing someone, and then before I could even flee or do anything, there was just a whole herd of them. And then basically I just fell to the ground, guarded my head and face, and just held on and braced for it,
So a lot of us have seen that video that a passerby was taking. So we kind of know how long it lasted. From the video, it looked like it lasted about a minute and a half. But how long did that feel to you, just being in that?
So I've only seen the video that you're referring to a couple of times. It's very hard for me to watch. Unfortunately, every time I appear on the news, it's the lead in, and I try to, turn away. It makes me cringe. But the whole experience in itself was in reality probably 2-3 minutes. But to me, it seemed like it was going on, for an eternity. I just remember blow after blow and just holding on. And eventually, I guess, an officer picked me up, and I realized that, at that point that I was safe, and had a short of adrenaline, kind of fought back for a second,
right? But
then collapsed to the ground, and just that was from that point forward, it was very difficult.
You were pretty open about it really early on. We saw pictures of you. By the way, just so you know, I haven't been able to watch that whole video. Also, I watched maybe the first 6 seconds of it, and I'm like, I can't do this.
No, I understand.
And
It's a
yeah,
necessary watch to some people, but it's tough. Yeah.
yeah, it must be really hard for you. I can't even imagine. I
Yeah.
hope I never have to.
Yeah.
But um, you look a lot better right now. I'm looking at
Thank
you.
you. I
You look
appreciate
so
that.
much
Yeah.
better than you
Yeah.
did that first picture that we
Thanks.
saw
Yeah.
in
I'm
the
getting there.
hospital.
I'm getting there. Yeah.
So how long were you in the hospital? Like we'll move a little bit away from the incident. So how long were you in the hospital? What was the recovery like? Or how is the recovery going now?
I probably arrived at the hospital that night. I would say 7:30, 7:45 if I had to ballpark it. Maybe earlier. My timing's a little off, but I probably left the hospital that night around 2:30. I went back to my apartment that night. Honestly, just went to sleep. And the next morning, I mean, it was just a whole whirlwind of meeting and everything like that. I didn't realize what the extent of the situation really was when I went to sleep that night until I woke up the next day. And since then it's just I'm trying to do my best to get the positive word out there and try to bring some more attention to the anti-Semitism that's spreading across New York, United States, the world, everywhere. So if one more person can avoid the fate I had, that's all I'm trying to get out there and do.
Some people go through these traumatic incidents and then decide later on, or really immediately, you know what, I just want to keep this private. I don't really want this to be something that I share with a lot of people. What made you decide that you were going to be public?
I think I got such a wave of support when that video came out. But my phone was at 1% when I went to the hospital. I called my parents, let them know the situation where I was. My father arrived at the hospital. My phone actually, was off from that point forward till I got home that night. But when I got home that night, I maybe had hundreds of messages from people who were out there supporting me and we're here for you, anything you could possibly need. And honestly, feeling that behind me, it kind of, motivated me to essentially, come forward and try to make a difference.
So you mentioned the interviews that started basically immediately the next day. How has your experience with the press been?
It's been very positive overall. I haven't seen any way for them to distort what took place. The proof is in the pudding. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, I'm not going to say names or whatever. The press may take one thing and misconstrue it a certain way, but thankfully, everything I've seen has been, trying to just get the message out and denounce anti-Semitism. So that's great. And for example, people have been sending me pictures in the city. There's a major ad in Times Square, #No hate against Jews. I saw the bus stops with the same message. I mean, that's great to see. I'm, if it took this, whatever it was, but I'm just happy to see that some things are, being put out there to promote the message and hopefully help some people.
That's tremendous. So what about your experience with the police? I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about what's going on, but
I'll be just generally speaking. So initially, they just dispersed the crowd, got everyone out of there and made sure I was okay. From that point forward, honestly, they were by me like side by side. They cornered off the whole street. They brought cop cars everywhere. Immediately called an ambulance. I recall them yelling like, "We need it quick! Get him! Get him! Get him!" They were running into the store, getting me water constantly for my face. And then in the hospital, when I was getting worked on, I must have met with 15 to 20 different individuals from the hate crime unit, various other departments. And even today, another detective reached out to me, called me right away. He said, "Before you even hear from anyone else, we just caught another guy." I'm sure it's out there. Just people sending me stuff. So yeah, so that's just the fact that they're and there's already pushing the wheels of justice in motion, which is great. So I couldn't be more commendable of the NYPD.
Have you heard from them what the potential consequences for your attackers might be?
So my little understanding, I haven't really dug too far into the specific of what it entails. I just know, generally speaking, I think he was charged with second-degree assault, amongst other charges, second-degree assault being the most major, with a hate crime attached. And from my little understanding, I believe the sentencing guidelines, when it's a hate crime, it gets bumped up in terms of, so I've heard anywhere from 15 years, but beyond that, it would become my attention. He's a long, lengthy record, even in the past year only. Arresting, abusing all, going after officers, resisting arrest, etc. And he's been arrested multiple times. So hopefully, like this, the fact that he has this record also, expedites the situation and makes it, further sentences on him.
I was talking to a few friends of mine. I asked them if you had any questions for you, and one really good question was, has anybody from the pro-Palestinian side reached out to you and tried to maybe talk and bridge some sort of a gap?
So I've received various random messages here on on social media from people of all faiths and religions in support. In terms of actual specific organizations, I can't cite any. So
Mm.
I don't want to make a generalization for the organization as a whole, because I have individuals have reached out to me, Palestinian, Asians have reached out to me because they've they heard what happened to me, Asian Americans. I don't know, sorry, but yeah, in general. So yeah, so it's good to see that there are other people that are coming aware of the situation and making a difference.
I want to ask you if you have any messages. So first of all, to other Jews, I'll ask you a few questions and you could respond to any or all of
All right,
them.
go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Should we change our patterns of behavior? Should we avoid the confrontations or go in headstrong? And if someone finds themselves in a similar situation to you, what do you think they should do?
So I can't, in terms of confrontations, because that's the one that stands out to me the most. I can't speak to what someone should do or how someone should act. In my situation, I think the best situation would kind of just be to run and try find law enforcement, because the way I had one guy, and I thought maybe even if it's one guy, but you never know who's, how many people could be coming after you, God forbid. So I guess in terms of if someone's, God forbid, coming after you, maybe run into a store, run into law enforcement, run somewhere where you're at least have some sort of shield or protection. Altering behavior is,
Like, for
I want to
instance, would
say,
you would you stop wearing a yarmulke?
no, yes, that's the one that's a big tough. I don't think, no, I would not stop wearing my yarmulke. I would still wear my kippah out in public. I want to say maybe that, I'm being a little naive, but I want to say the fact that I was attending a rally in close proximity of the rally heightened the threat, level that I was wearing a kippah. I've been back to my apartment in the Upper East Side wearing a kippah, and I feel a little more secure, but still I'm a little I'm shaking up. I'm looking over my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
But so people have asked me if I go to a rally again, for example, and I would go to a rally again. I would wear my kippah, but I think in hindsight, in retrospective of what happened, I'd probably previously, before going to the rally, make sure I go with a crowd of people, meet up with friends, or if I'm walking back from shul at night on a Friday night, maybe just walk with a couple people. It can't hurt. You're less of, I know you're never totally safe, but it's less of a target and less of a threat if you're with a crowd of people.
Yeah, my grandfather actually called me before Shabbos last week, and he said, "Please make early Shabbos so you could walk home in the daylight." So
I heard they're organizing groups and everything like that, which is great to hear, because the last thing you want to hear is on Shabbos of all days, someone geting
which
attacked.
it almost did happen in Brooklyn on Shabbos, which I'm sure you're aware of.
I saw it, so I'm not surprised. Nothing surprises me at this point. So it's sad to say, unfortunately.
So let me ask you this: do you have a message for the people who attacked you?
Initially, I really just wanted to sit down with the attackers and kind of just figure out, why do you hate me so much? What did I do? You don't even know me. That was really my initial impression. I've seen some things in the past 48 hours that kind of make me reconsider that position, such as lack of remorse, being paraded around on your friend's shoulders like you're a hero. Those things have really stuck with me and bothered me. So at the same time, when I really wanted to understand, I really just, at this point, which when I want justice, I kind of want, I want whoever partook in the assault to just have justice served, because if there's no remorse and there's no empathy, there's no sympathy, then they easily do to someone else. And then what's stopping them from someone else? If
one of them were to show remorse, would you be willing to sit down with them?
Yeah, I would sit down with them to show remorse. I would. I highly doubt it would happen. Maybe I'm, being skeptical and cynical after what took place. But for example, I mean, I saw the video for, two or three times. In the video, the man in the pink shirt appears to be, helping me out. I've made numerous mentions to him. If he wanted to sit down and talk to me, have a drink, I would love that, because if he was helping me out, he did put himself in harm's way. That's amazing. So like I said, I'm not, and I'm trying to be positive. So so.
And do you have a message for anybody in the greater American culture, the world? What would you like to tell them? Because all of those people listen to my podcast, obviously.
Yeah. So just from a national, international sense, the rise in anti-Semitism and even the rise in hate against other, ethnicities such as Asian Americans, for example. This all has to stop. This is just not something that can be tolerated in our day and age. I don't understand how people can manifest hate for other people without truly knowing them and really, developing a sense for what they are and who they believe. I was going to the rally not to bash Palestine or slash Hamas or go after everyone. I was going there to promote, Israel. I'm not going, I invest my energy in advancing the goals and rights of what's important to me rather than, going, posing and causing trouble on their side. If everyone just focused on their own agenda and their own goals and not focusing on violence or hurting others, I think they would get a lot farther, and everyone would get a lot farther, honestly, in my opinion, because we went to at my rally, there were incidents where, someone was potentially going to maybe get hurt or get beaten. And we were holding people back because it just creates bad attention, bad press, bad everything. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't help anyone. How does assaulting me in the middle of the street, unless your goals and agenda are truly malicious and hurtful, how does this promote what you're doing, in my opinion?
That's great. And for you in the future, what are you looking to do? Are you looking to take your message to other places? Are you looking to further maybe broaden your ability to reach people?
I'm hoping in the immediate, in the wake of this, that the amount of attention it's gotten in the firestorm that's generated, that I can really, hopefully make some changes. Maybe that means, strengthen up hate crime laws or something like that against Jews, against all people, to discourage such violence from taking place. Maybe, someone who does such a crime like this shouldn't be even allowed to be on the streets afterwards. Take away bail from them. Even forget no bail. Don't even offer them bail. That would be something that I would recommend in such a case, because if you're telling me that this guy can pay $1,000, a tenth of 10 grand, be out on the streets and be celebrated for beating someone in the streets until the wheels of justice really take place, who's to say he's not out there plotting now to hurt someone else? That's what really bothers me. And I hope that if I could sit down when the mayor hasn't reached out to me, I would love to sit down with the mayor in New York City. I'm a city loyalist. I love the city to death, but it's, when the mayor's not even reaching out to me, it's kind of disheartening, to be honest.
Have any of the candidates for the upcoming election reached out at all yet?
I've heard from Eric Adams. He reached out to my family. I appreciate that. I don't want to be cynical. I've seen all the tweets and I appreciate the support, but it means a lot more when I hear personally from all of them. And certain people have reached out. I have a conference call with Kathleen Rice on Thursday. So yes, there's certain individuals that reached out that, really, come to mind. Bruce Blakeman stopped by. He's a congressman of mine that stopped by. So yeah, the people who really, make an effort to reach out are the ones that stand out. And I'm not saying that, the mayor may not care, may not, whatever, but if he wanted to reach out to me, it would mean a lot more.
Joseph, I have to commend you because the temptation is there to take this and say something along the lines of, see, this is what the Palestinians do, and you're not doing that.
I don't want to do that and then draw a radical and then be like, oh, this guy's crazy, this guy's irrational, and put a bad front on for the Jewish people. And that's the last thing I want to do.
Right. All you're asking for is some peace around the place, that get rid of the anti-Semitism, get rid of a lot of the hate is what is really the message that you're sending. And I really commend you from that. I really commend you for that. And before I let you go, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with?
I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to, spread my message. Hopefully all your listeners all over can, hopefully take away that all we want is for everyone to get along. The last thing I want is to go back and, get physical revenge on these individuals. I just want everyone to coexist peacefully and, push forward.
Joseph, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'll let you get back to what you do. Please have a lot of success in your recovery, and hope that you and your family can really move on from this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
My thanks to Joseph Borgen for joining me this week. It certainly cannot be easy to relive the incident, and we really appreciate him taking the time to tell us about his experience. We have no way of knowing how this will all play out, but there is one clear message. We must all be careful and vigilant out there. I hope you all stay safe, and we can hopefully make it through this latest epidemic of violence facing our community. Until next time, Kol Tov.
The Jewish Living Podcast is produced by Sreli Pikus. Our theme song is The Band by A.B. Rottenberg. Follow us on Facebook at The Jewish Living Podcast and on Twitter and Instagram at Jewish_living. You can also email the show at jewishlivingpodcast@gmail.com. The Jewish Living Podcast is recorded in conjunction with the Queens Jewish Link.